They have tremendous summers in front of some guy, one person. All I ever tell my dad used to tell me and Paul all the time, you only need one person to like you.
That's
One
right.
person to call that name.
Yep.
In the 15th round, the Minnesota Twins select Paul Russo.
Yep.
One person. Having 50 is great because that gives you an option, but all you need is one guy to like you. And
Yep.
I thought somebody told me at the TC Jesuit game that Miggs had 16 Division I commits on his team this year, more than anybody in the country. And some of those guys are playing JV baseball.
That's crazy, bro.
And look, you got a Division I commit and can't play a Jesuit. What does that tell you? What does that tell you?
Good morning or good afternoon, depends on what side of the globe that you're on. But another treat on the BCP podcast, a legend here in the Hillsborough County. Let me back up. A legend in the state of Florida. All right. We have a former pro baseball player, 7-time coach of the year, Hit Factory owner, current Hit Factory owner, 3-time Saladino Award winner, 22-time Perfect Game Trophy coach, and has sent over 200 kids to play college ball. Let's welcome Coach Pat Russo. Coach, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Pete. Great having you. Thanks. Nice talking to you.
Absolutely. You know, when you talk baseball here in our area, at the very least, and you say that Russo name, that it speaks volumes. Like you're going to listen because that name is synonymous with baseball in the area. Your pro days, your coaching days, like everybody kind of gravitates either way. Doesn't matter whether they love you or hate you, they're going to gravitate towards that Russo name. And obviously with youth baseball as it is now, Hit Factory is one of the first, if you will, to I guess infiltrate the Tampa Bay area. And you and your brother have been doing it for a long time. What got you into youth baseball to start?
Well, the biggest thing for me was that when I retired in '95 and I became the head coach at Plant, I wanted to give the kids of South Tampa, which is where I lived at the time, I wanted to give them an opportunity to feel a part of what it was like to build towards a big goal. So
Okay.
our goal back then was to get the kids from down there and get them ready to hopefully one day go play for me at Plant High School. And
Okay.
then after that, it just kept growing and growing and growing. And then the boys were born. I took over presidency at Wellswood, and we brought that thing. We revived Wellswood youth baseball, and just as times have changed throughout the 35 years or so, it's become a big influence on what we're trying to do and accomplish in the big picture of playing the sport of baseball.
A long-time coach. How many years have let's go high school coaching career. How long were you a high school coach?
16 years.
Was Plant your first start?
Yes, 95 to 2001 was Plant. 2002 to 2006 was Hillsborough. If I can recall, 2010 and 11 were Tampa Catholic. And then a good friend of mine, Nick Grosso, asked me to take the Pinellas Park job, and I took that really for fun from 2013 to 2015.
What was the Plant program like before you took it over?
It was pretty rough. Bless his soul. Thank God for Vince Sussman, who was the principal at the time, and Jeff Vardo. Those years before I got there, they weren't really that good. And like I said, I retired in '95 from the Yankees, and Jeff offered me the job, and we revived that place pretty quick. We got some really good players. We went back to the basics, and we won 2 Saladinos, over 100 games there, and we sent a ton of guys to play in college. And then the administration changed, and it kind of went a little crazy after that.
So with all the success, I mean, one would have to ask, if you're having a success at one place, why would the administration ruffle the feathers to have you either leave or oust you, however that happened? Take us back. What did happen that you left Plant? Let's just go.
Well,
Let's just go there.
the one thing that's going to happen in this thing with you is that I'm going to tell the truth, and
Mm-hmm.
some people may like it, some people may not. But if you go back to where it's at, there's documentation to show everything. So
Yes, sir.
what I truly believed happened back then was Plant High School baseball was getting bigger than the whole school.
Mm.
The baseball was on top of the world. We renovated the field. We got Steve Yerrid to give us some money. We got brand new lights. Wade Boggs got back involved. Everything you see at Plant High School today is the way that I left it. The locker
Okay.
room the locker room that is there today that I never got to go into was built from donations from Beck Construction, and then it just got into the fact that they were nitpicking a little bit, that I was watering the grass too much. The girls didn't have the same stuff, and it just kind of got out of control where it was just too much. So what really happened was they asked me to resign. I said I wasn't going to resign. And then uh, they told me that they would have a job for me uh, pretty quick. So then they decided to give me the Hillsborough job. So that coach was let go. They gave me the Hillsborough job within 48 hours of leaving the plant job. And then it was all about restarting over and getting to Hillsborough, because Hillsborough's facilities before we got there were absolutely the worst facilities in Hillsborough County.
Wow.
The
Wow.
worst.
The worst.
And they weren't that good either. Their team was pretty not too good either.
So so you when you were at Plant, you said, "Screw you, I'm not quitting. You're gonna have to fire me."
That's right.
And then what were the grounds that they
The
fired you
principal
for?
the principal told me he could fire me if he didn't like my hair color, basically, because I was not on staff. I was Mr. Sussman's attendant. He
Okay.
had fallen off a roof, bless his soul, and was in a wheelchair. And I used to pick him up in the morning, drive him to school. I was his arms and legs that he needed to do whatever he needed to do. So
Okay.
that's the way it was. They pulled Jeff Vardo away from him to make him more viable, and then they tried to pull me away from him too. So
So they
then he
fired you
got
without
transferred.
cause.
He
Okay.
got he got transferred down to work for the school board, and I went with him, and then I got the Hillsborough job right after that.
Go. So now we're at the Big Red, where you should be. Go
Yep,
Terriers all the time.
yep.
And at the time, what years were those?
02 to 06.
Okay, so I had just started coaching with Coach Garcia on the football side. I was
Yep.
young out of school, and I remember you guys were having success. You had some success. Tell me about how you took that program, how you charted that program up the mountaintop.
So basically, what happened there was the field was in absolute disarray. The the kids had no place to dress. I remember the first 2 weeks I was there. I met Elijah Dukes in the back alley, and
Mm-hmm.
then I got a letter from Miss Kathy, who lived in the houses right behind the field, that the kids were changing in their cars. We didn't have a locker room. We didn't have anything. We didn't even have lights. So a couple of my moms, Judy Davis, was the spearhead. And within that next year, we got a brand new field, brand new lights. We got a portable for the boys to dress in. We had that thing as Mac Daddy as anybody else's. I mean, we did with what we had. And within 5 years, we were, I truly believe, Hillsborough County's biggest bad boys. We were
Mm-hmm.
ranked all 5 years in the top three in Hillsborough County. We got the best playing field and playing facility, I think, in 2003
Mm-hmm.
or 2004 by one of the big groundskeep groups. And I mean, we really turned that place around. And then K.R. Lombardia was an outstanding athletic director, and Tom Rail was a great principal. And then when they switched principals, all hell broke loose.
Dr. Orr
So,
came in, I believe, if that was the next succession in the
oh
principal.
boy, yep.
So on the field, let's just talk a little baseball now.
Yep.
When you first got there, if you can remember, what was Hillsborough's record the year before you got there? If you
I
remember,
want to say 6-20 maybe.
6-20. Now let's go to your last year, if you will. What was their record then?
30-5. We were the
Wow.
number one ranked team in the state, and I think it was 5A. We were ranked by collegiate baseball in the top 20 teams in the country. We had that place rolling like it was rolling.
So, and again, back to the intro, everybody, 7-time coach of the year. So there's something in the sauce that you're doing.
Oh, people don't like it though. People don't like it, but it's in the sauce.
it seems to work. All right, so let's stay there. Okay. Tell me the side that works. What, obviously without giving out your secret sauce because the competition's out there, but tell me something that we can put out. Why do you do such a good job? What is it that you provide?
Well, number one is that my coaching staff was always top notch. Pat Nunez, bless his soul, passed away, and he was my right arm. My brother was my left arm and my calming factor. You know, we had back then Marcus Garcia, Tab Joyner, Lenny Guida, those guys all tab coaches with my nephew today. Vince Scagno, who's now my partner in Hit Factory, did my pitching stuff. You know, we just were a little rambunctious, but it's I made a hat of this a couple years ago. I want to have pit bulls, not poodles. And I got those kids to believe in discipline. We had curfew. We practiced on Saturday mornings. We're very disciplined at practice. We intimidated by however you want to call it intimidation. And we were fundamentally sound. And for Plant, that was pretty simple to do. At Hillsborough, it was we turned the poodles at Plant into pit bulls, and we had the pit bulls at Hillsborough, but they were just wild, and we had to contain them, and we did that. And then kids started transferring in, which Hillsborough County didn't like too much, and it is what it is. Dr. Orr really put a kill on that, but if you want to have a good podcast, and we can elaborate on that too.
I'm here for it. But before we get into it, it's funny you say that because Earl Garcia has been there forever. All right. Yep. He got the head coaching job in 93. He had a stint as an assistant coach before then. He was a head coach at Gaither and then became the head coach at Hillsborough. And what I always thought Coach G did a fantastic job of two things. Coach G's he's super organized. All right. He's super organized.
Yep.
And the way people see the area of Hillsborough High School now, Seminole Heights, was not that when we were in school. Way. Right? Absolutely. It was not that. It is totally gentrified. It looked nothing like that back in the area. So you're talking about Coach G, who is now in the centerpiece of the hood. Yep. And he had us, a team full of black kids in Seminole Heights. Discipline is all get out. Absolutely. We always said we were controlled dogs in that area.
Absolutely.
We were the top dogs. Coach G and his staff, we had a great coaching staff.
Absolutely.
He already had the attitude. You had the kids with the attitude. Now you have to learn how to harness it. So Absolutely. when you said like Plant, all right, so here's the same, it goes parallel. Plant, those kids are motivated to be good. All right. They're motivated to be good. There's a different demographic. I would assume most of them come from 2-parent households.
Yep.
There's some structure that's provided, and then there's resources. So they're more than likely been playing baseball in a structured way for a long time and have the training. in that area, in that plant. So when you get somebody like yourself who has the credentials and you pour that into those kids, they're going to gravitate pretty quickly. All right. And
Real
let's
quick.
just say they're real quick. They're going to get it just like plant football. When Coach Weiner came there with the limited talent that he had and won all those state championships, he had motivated kids.
That's right.
Right. So it's the same with football and same with baseball. So you're saying the exact same thing because it's the same type of kids that were there then, same type of kids that are there now. So, Doc, let's just stay on the timeline. 7-time coach of the year. You get. Did he ask you for your resignation, or he just fired you?
No. He asked me for my resignation. This is what happened. They called me in. They called me in after the state final run. They called me in and they said, "Hey, coach, we have a problem." I said, "Well, when I walked in, Mr. Vernon Korn was sitting in the office. He, at that time, was the athletic director of Hillsborough County, who I've known from plant those years before that."
Right.
So they call me in and they say, "Coach, we got a problem." And I said, "Well, Dr. Orr, what's the problem now?" And he said, "Well, 13 kids are transferring to Hillsborough to play baseball." I said, "What?" He said, 13 kids are transferring to Hillsborough to play baseball, and we think you recruited them. I said, "That's absolutely not true because I don't even know one player who's coming." And then there were letters written by Pop Cuesta, Dick Rohlberg, an anonymous parent. It was just all kind of just trash that just came into it. And I said, my first thing before I got up in that meeting was, I said, "You're worried about 13 kids coming in here to play baseball, but geez, didn't we just get the 3 best football players to come in here too?" I said, "So, I mean, I get it. I mean, I know you and I don't get along, but I don't do nothing. And, oh, by the way, if they're in the school, your administration got them in. I'm just the head baseball coach. I didn't get those people in the school. So when you're good, people want to play for you and they'll find a way to get in. No matter what way they got to get in, they're going to try to get in."
So now you head to Tampa Catholic, right?
No, I took about 3 years off because the boys were in that 4-5 age. So I started running Wellswood, and then 2010 or 2009, I started talking to Freddie Langioti and Tom Reedy. Freddie was a teammate of mine at the University of Tampa, and we grew up together, spending weekends together as we were growing up. And then they offered me the job at Tampa Catholic in 2010 with a very mediocre, talented team, but we made it to the state. We made it to the state tournament again. Yep.
Well, there's some magic there. Yep. And you mentioned the boys, and we'll get into that. So listeners, he's got 2 boys. They're very talented. And consequently, he was a head coach at Tampa Catholic. His boys went to Jesuit, and we're going to talk about that. However, so now let's go from your coaching career, and actually we'll stay in the coaching career, but let's talk about Hit Factory. So instead of high school, we're going to jump in Hit Factory. 200 kids that have played college, over 200 kids who have gone on to play college ball.
Yeah.
Tell me the starting point. Tell me the starting point with Hit Factory and how you got that thing to elevate so fast, so quickly with all these kids going to play ball.
Well, my brother did an outstanding job of bringing in kids and not really turning kids away. When we first started, it's not like it is now where Ostingers has 7 teams or 10 teams, and they have a best team in every graduating class, but then they got 2 or 3 other teams in the other class in the same class, but everybody wants to play for the top team. So Paul really did a great job of never cutting anybody and just building it up and building it up and building it up. And then he said, "Okay, it's time for you to now get the better players and let's see how big we can get." Well, we started probably around 20, so 7 years. I would say 2014 when Cole's team was about 14. Tripp's
Okay.
team was about 16. So we started building teams around those guys.
Okay.
And, Tripp's team had Derek Barone, Ryan Dell, had a ton of guys, Mike Williams. They had a ton of guys that were just unbelievable players, and that started the thing rolling. Then when
Okay.
we got through, Tripp graduated in 2020, and then Cole's team was just, if there was any team that I could ever compare to '06 Hillsborough, it was probably Cole's team. They had 15 Division I players. Johnny Bastine at Vanderbilt, Austin Grouse, Rory, Marcus Brodeel at USF. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, Bretton Cusick, Cole, Dom Castellano, Chris Sosnowski. We had guys that were Andrew Sundin that were just, I mean, unbelievable. I think they got up to being number 4 in the nation by Perfect Game, and they ended up winning their pool play bracket against teams that we had no reason even competing against. And we won our bracket in the Jupiter tournament, which is the biggest tournament of the year for travel baseball for Perfect Game.
I had in my notes because I wanted to talk about, and I think if my research is correct, Cole sent that his last team that he played on for that Hit Factory Pro team would have been a 21-22 Hit Factory Pro team. Is that correct?
It would just be 21. So all
21.
the
Okay.
guys who graduated in 21, because in the 22 time, that was Jake Rupp's group and those group of guys.
Okay, so the 21 team.
Yep.
Okay. And you jumped in and started naming all that talent because I remember when I was watching them, it just showed they had dudes.
Buddy,
They had
they had dudes, and the biggest thing about them guys were they were all Tampa guys. We had
yep.
Johnny Bastine and Bretton Cusick were from Lakeland, but those guys had played with us, with me and Wayne Grouse, and also bless his soul, Billy Cusick, since those guys were 6, 7, 8 years old, and they just all stayed together till we got done with them, and they all got great places to play and all went to school on scholarship, and that was a good group.
I've been on the outside of some Hit Factory administrative meetings with you and Vince and Big Bro. And tell me, when you have a team like that, what is that administrative meeting like? Are you, when you say, hey, coach, we need to go to this tournament now. We need to scratch this tournament. We got to go here. We got to market this team like this. We have these players. And then your brother's pushing back and maybe Vince is in the middle. How did those meetings go when you had a team like that 21 pro team?
Well, they really didn't go too good because we traveled all over the place, and it's a lot of spending and it's a lot of money and it's a lot of promotional stuff. I tell everybody today that if my nephew would have played for me, which he didn't,
Which
he
one?
went to
Which one?
my nephew Paulie. If
Okay.
Paulie would have played for me, he played for me as a freshman, and his first at bat, he didn't start for me. He
Okay.
was on the bench because I just knew there was a lot of political things that went on at Tampa Catholic, and I didn't really want to get involved in it. But Paulie's first pinch hit was a home run off an Alabama commit against Berkeley. And when he hit that home run, he never sat the bench again. And what I tried to explain to those guys is that if Chenzo, Vence's son, and Paulie would have played for me the way that I promote kids, they both had great careers, but their outcomes would have been totally on a bigger scale compared to Colts. And that's where we try to, my brother has a hard time sometimes understanding that it's not anymore about the true talent of a player. It's all about how you promote them. And not only as a coach, but as a dad, I promoted Johnny Bastien. I promoted those guys to nothing ever seen before.
It prompted a question. You said the politics of it. and this is totally not hit factor related. This is just, let's just say, let's just say baseball, youth baseball, which can include youth ball and high school ball. Okay, so
No
amateur
question.
ball, right?
No question.
Um, Politics are always going to be involved. However, it's a feeling of mine, just me personally, that baseball, the politics feel a little bit thicker. Okay,
Yeah.
you don't have to agree, and obviously, please push back if you need to. How do you juggle the politics that can get involved from maybe stockholders, stakeholders, parents, friends, and family? How does a baseball coach, administrator, how do you juggle the politics that's involved in youth baseball?
Well, the problem is that in baseball compared to most other sports, and I'm just talking about sports that I relate to.
Mm-hmm.
I can't give you um, I can't give you any insight on soccer. I'd have to phone a friend in Adrian Bush, who's married to Trisha now, and is the boy's stepdad. He's the head coach at the University of Tampa, and that
Okay.
guy can tell you anything you want to know about soccer. I
Okay.
have no idea the politics in lacrosse, but I
Mm-hmm.
can tell you this: and in today's world, if you can't shoot, you cannot be a basketball player. Doesn't
Mm-hmm.
matter your height, your weight. If you can't shoot and rebound, you can't play basketball.
Right.
If you're not a dog and you don't want to hurt somebody and hit somebody and have a long career of life, you're not going to be a football player.
Mm-hmm.
But in baseball, in the big leagues today or anywhere, doesn't matter your size, your strength, your hands, your speed. Everybody thinks their son is going to play Division I baseball and play in the major leagues.
Mm-hmm.
95% of the people you deal with,
Hmm.
because there's so much variables that go into playing baseball compared to the other sports. So that's the toughest part. And as soon as they're
Okay.
not happy, as soon as they're not happy in youth ball, no matter the loyalty factor, they go to try to find the grass that's greener. And within a year or two, they're coming back to Hit Factory. So in high school, same thing. If you're not happy now at one high school, you can go to 4 years and go to four different schools as long as you follow the protocol of whatever the protocol is.
Right.
Nowadays, I don't even know what it is anymore. Now you can stay at home, homeschool, don't even go to school, and go play for a high school team. Huh.
Right.
If that would have been going on in 2000, in the 2000s, buddy, I would have had people playing from all different countries. And
it
that's what
just
they and that's what people didn't like back then, was that
it's
I could turn kids that were just troubled kids or kids that weren't that good into some pretty good players.
right. Okay. And that's part of secret sauce.
Yeah, that's the secret sauce.
And sometimes you sit up there in the stands, us as fans, not coaches, and you like, why is he on the field? Like,
Yeah.
how did that kid get there? Like, why is he playing shortstop? Like
Yeah.
how did
I
he get there?
It's funny you brought that up, because I used to, from 2000, I guess 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, from about 2016 to 2021, I used to have to go to Jesuit with my earplugs in, because Miguel and I have always had a great friendship. When I was at
Mm-hmm.
Hillsborough, I went down to Key West to play Miguel, and
Yep.
Miguel does an outstanding job at what he does. But
Right.
the pressures that I think that he feels sometimes with all the people that go to school there and the teams that he has there, I mean, he just wins, and he wins, and he wins with guys that him and I would talk about, that I would be like, bro, they would never even walk on a field with me, but they do justice for you. And and people question him all the time, but how do you question a guy who's gonna win 10 state championships before he's done? And
Right.
Miguel Menendez will be the Coach Hoffman from down there at Westminster. At the end of the day, Miguel Menendez has the best opportunity to be the greatest high school coach the state of Florida has ever seen. Now, some people say he don't need to coach. Some people say he has to coach very little. But the bottom line is, you got to win, and you can't take wins away from coaches.
And okay. we can say that about Nick Saban, right?
Absolutely.
He's got the resources, he's got the athletes. He may not have to coach a lot because he got both of them,
That's
right?
right.
But that's why you go to a place like Alabama to get those resources to
That's
attract
right.
those type of kids. So
That's
maybe you don't have to coach a lot, right?
That's
You've done the hard work,
that's
right?
right.
So you know, I don't know, just for people around here. So we're talking about Miguel Menendez. He's the head baseball coach at Jesuit, and I believe he has played in the state championship 7 of his 10 years at Jesuit.
Probably. And he
I
would
had
have been the national champ in COVID that year in 2020, Tripp's
right,
senior year. They would have been the national champs because, I mean, they had Bennett Lee, Manasseh, uh, Clark. I mean, their team, Cole, Tripp, Castellano. That team gave up one run, period, in 11 games. They were going to be the national champs no matter what. So that was, and to get into Jesuit is a task in itself because they don't let
right,
everybody in.
right.
So the great thing about that is that the guys who don't get in that are good players have the opportunity now. I think my nephew in the next 5 years has a chance to get back to the state championship. At least 3 of those years. He's off to a great start this year, and the stuff that he's got some secret sauce too. But the great thing about him is he's his own man. He does his own thing, but he's got me and my brother right next to him, and he's got a great coaching staff, and those guys do a great job of what they have.
Yeah, I spoke with Big Paul the other day, and I sung Paulie's praises as he's just developed and been so successful in such a short period of time. And the thing I told Big Paul was that he's always the teams are always well coached. And you can see it. I would not define myself as a baseball guy. I'm a sports guy. I can talk enough baseball to make you think that I know baseball, but I'm
For
not a
sure.
baseball guy.
For
But
sure.
coaching is coaching, and teams that are well coached, you can see it. It stands out. It's not hard to see. So you can tell teams that are well coached. Paulie's teams have been well coached the last 4 years.
Yep.
He's doing a good job at TC. And speaking of Tampa Catholic, so this Jesuit Tampa Catholic, for listeners out there, it's a major rivalry in all sports. They're two of the older private schools in the area. Jesuit and Tampa Catholic, they're only separated about a few miles. So you're talking about geography. You're talking about kids who all played together, kids who all grown up together in different areas. Coach Russo here coached at Tampa Catholic. They have been tremendous years past, always been a good baseball program, fell off a little bit. Jesuit, which is down the street from Tampa Catholic, both of his sons attended Jesuit. All right. So now let's take Tripp, and then we'll follow up with Cole. Both your kids played for you at Hit Factory.
Yep.
When it was time to start having those conversations about where we're going to play high school ball, how did those evolve? And then just take me, how did they get to Jesuit?
Well, I
The
can tell
rival.
you. Well, I can tell you that 95% of that decision was made by their mom, Trisha. She
Mm-hmm.
is a outstanding woman. She's works for ADP. She's a president with that company, and she's always kind of like been the glue to this whole chaos of what baseball was. And she just she's a graduate of Tampa Catholic, and she basically just said the boys are going to Jesuit, and I was like, our conversations were like, Trisha, the boys are not Jesuit type boys. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, they're just not. I mean, Cole would wait till the last 3 weeks of school and get all his grades caught up, and Tripp was just smart and just got his stuff done without even really studying. And
Right.
she said, well, but they're both going to Jesuit. And I'm like, okay, well, I don't know what you think's going to happen, but if that's what you think and they're okay with it, then I'll let it ride.
Okay.
They didn't go to Plant because Dennis Braun and I just don't see eye to eye, and she just didn't want him to go to Tampa Catholic for whatever reasons, and um, that was only their three choices, and she wanted them to go to Jesuit. And usually, when she wanted something that's right, we just all roll with it.
Cole probably had the bigger name when they were coming out. Tripp might end up being a good coach in his own right, right?
Oh no, yeah,
So that everybody's path is a little bit different.
yep,
So as when Tripp starts popping in this coaching thing, I'll get Tripp on the show and we'll say, hey, we had Tripp on here first and he's coach of the year. All
yep,
right, but let's go to Cole.
yep.
Cole's senior year, actually Cole had a really good junior campaign, but his senior year, he really started to pop.
Yeah.
When recruiting started to take off for Cole, end of his junior year, heading into his senior year, what was the climate like at Hit Factory and in your household?
Well, it was pretty exciting because Tripp had already decided he was going to pitch at Adrian College, and
Okay.
he had a great time at Jesuit. He ended up being one of their top relievers when he left,
Okay.
and every tight situation, Miguel would bring him in, and somehow he worked out of it. And then, really, you're right. They were totally different paths. Cole got offered his first scholarship in the ninth grade by
Okay.
Rich Wallace, who's now the coach at UCF, to attend Jacksonville.
Mm-hmm.
And then South Alabama, where Paulie went, they offered him a total full ride his ninth grade year. And then as he evolved in perfect game, the pro stuff started happening, and then I mean there were just a lot of places that he had the opportunity to go to, and he went with his mom to UCF. I didn't even go because the next week we were supposed to go to the University of Texas, and he came home, and I'm sure his mom helped give him some pointers in what to tell me, and he
Mm-hmm.
just said, "Dad, UCF's the place," and I'm like, okay, it's your choice. I've already been to school. I've already done my contract. So, and then he went to UCF, and then it was all pretty good from there.
Something that just popped up in my head, and I just want to backtrack slightly.
Okay.
Being such a great baseball mind and talent like you are and were, and understanding Miguel and the pressures that he is under or was under while Cole was playing at Jesuit, how often did you interject in maybe some of the decision making that Miguel was doing within his program?
It, to be totally honest with you, I didn't really interject much. I mean, when him and I'd go eat some chicken wings or go have lunch together, it was really about, how much I wanted them to win. And I
Mm-hmm.
wanted them to win because, number one, my sons both played there. And, you know, my son still called Miguel on his birthday and on Father's Day, and he still calls them on their birthday. And Miguel comes to watch Cole at UT, and him and Tripp still talk. So I didn't really interject a bunch. I will say that in our conversation, sometimes I would throw like little hints, but he was the coach,
Right.
and whatever he did, he did. We do have different philosophies that Miguel doesn't like to bunt too much, and I'm all about the bunt in
Mm-hmm.
special situations. But that's something that we've laughed about for years, and it at times I think it kind of hurt us a little bit, but hey, it's not my. And he still won the state championship. So
Right.
we could have like brotherly conversations, but I didn't interject. The only time I did interject was his senior year. His advisor, Tom O'Connell, wanted him to catch. And Miguel told me, Coach, he's going to catch one day, play third one day, play first one day, and move around. He won't catch all the time because I didn't want him to
Okay.
catch all the time. And we lost to Venice that night because we made an error defensively. Had nothing to do with the catchers. And then he never caught. He caught every other game the rest of the year, and I wasn't too thrilled about that. But you know, Miguel's the coach, and what he did decided it. But that's the only time I really interjected. That I really didn't want him to catch every game his senior year, and he pretty much caught every game his senior year. So
Talk to me as if I'm a dad who knows a
Mm-hmm.
lot about a sport. I'm
Mm-hmm.
a dad. I have a child who's playing the sport that I know a lot about. I'm an expert in the sport. I've done it. I've coached it. I'm an expert in it.
Mm-hmm.
However, you know that you're sending your son to a coach for that kid to be coached by that coach. Now, when he gets home, you guys can talk about whatever you want to talk about. You're his trainer at home, blase, blase, but you're never overstepping the coach, or you're not going to be involved with what the coach's decisions are made. However,
Yeah.
there's not a lot of there are parents who I guess voice their opinion too much because they are knowledgeable in that sport, right?
Right.
So talk to me as if I'm one of those parents who's about to get involved in youth baseball. I've been a pro baseball player, but yo, Mr. Jackson, you need to shut the F up and let us coach.
Right.
Give me the advice that I should have.
Well, what I would probably say is, Preston, it's us being knowledgeable. I had this same conversation, no lie, yesterday with Reggie Williams, whose son plays center field at the university, or left field center field at the University of Tampa with Cole. Reggie
Okay.
played in the big leagues, and we have our own little talks about pro baseball and getting people there to watch the guys and stuff. And I would just say, Preston, we've been there, we've done this. But the absolute bottom line is that guy who's coaching don't really care about me and you. He's got
Mm.
a job to do. And if your son can follow all of that he has to do, he's going to have an opportunity. But you going in there, or us going in there to try to intimidate the coach or give our knowledge of what we do, 99% of those coaches don't care. Don't care. And that's been be my only advice to somebody who, and I had that. I mean, there were dads that I had that were doctors, lawyers, ex big leaguers, and they'd come in and we would be able to talk baseball. But the bottom line is that I got to do what's best for my team on that day. And so, I try to give the best advice. I mean, I literally have and I'm going to have one in a couple weeks. I'd love for you to come. I'm going to sit down with all my 14U parents and explain to them in detail exactly what happens in the beginning of June when they all are done with 8th grade. They all go into high school. And listen, all the programs are exactly the same. Maybe a tweak here or there, but all those kids are going to go into a high school. They're going to go to a summer tryout. 90% of the coaches don't care because they're out doing their summer stuff. And you're going to pay to play 10 Legion game or 10 summer ball games with the school. 7 of them are going to get rained out. You're going to pay X amount of dollars to do that.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to lay the groundwork for them. And then they're not going to be able to ever come back and say, well, Coach Pat didn't prepare the player and the parent for what they're about to experience. So if you're going to Jesuit, I can give you what you're going to experience. If you're going to Plant, I can give you that. If you're going to TC, I can give you that. I can just help you alleviate your stress, Preston, as a parent, because I've been there, done that, and they all try to follow the same protocol in what happens. That's it.
All right. Here goes the educational segment because you've been doing it such a long time and at a top level. Let's go through a few secrets of recruiting. Okay. Now your son's an 8th grader. He's about to be a 9th grader. He's been playing travel for a little bit now. Now he's about to get on the big boy circuits. He's already on the big field. All right. And college coach is going to be popping around and asking questions.
Mm-hmm.
What are 1 to 3 things that parents should know when it's time to start getting into this recruiting space for baseball?
Okay.
Yep.
I'm gonna give you a little bit of this from a coaching point of view, but the way that I handled Cole and his publicity was totally probably a little bit crazy, but I
Mm-hmm.
knew all the buttons I had to push to get him to where he had to go.
Okay.
Now, 99% of the parents can't do that. So, from a hit factory point of view, we take care of 95% of that. We just need you to be there because, number one, the only thing they can really do is we're associated with a company called Sports Recruits, and they pay $150 for the year for that, and they can upload all of the players' videos and all the stuff they want to do. Other than that, I think that's all they really need to do, as long as they're doing their part as a parent, because our part is I do a book where I put their picture in it. I give them a coach's log. I do all the information. And when we go to Perfect Game and Prep and PBR and all those places, but before I start to coach, my day is not just going there and coaching. I go there hours before we play. I talk to all the college coaches that are there. I've been fortunate because of Cole's team that I know a lot of college coaches. And my phone is a encyclopedia to be able to call Vanderbilt or Sully at Florida or this guy. Now, that's where everybody wants their kid. In today's world, a lot of guys aren't going D1. And now with this new rule change and you get a 5th year, a lot of guys are going to start going to JUCO. So I handle that for them as long as they're a Hit Factory player.
Okay.
So that's number one. Or number two. Number one, they need to handle their thing. Number two is if you're playing for Hit Factory, Vince, handle a lot of that stuff for them. Gary Garcia also does that too. And then number three is you got to find a place. Like for me, I tell all my kids in the summer, I don't get to play for a state championship anymore. So, and thank God for all those other coaches that are my peers and friends, because if I would have stayed at Plant or I would have stayed at TC or I would have stayed at Hillsborough, who knows? My friend Landy Faedo at Alonzo's been doing it 25 years as a head coach, and he's won 4 Saladino tournaments. I got 10 chances, and I won 3. So, who knows what would have happened. But the other thing, as Paul always tells me, is I don't always follow the rules. Well, if people think I'm watering the grass too much or I'm practicing too long and that's the wrong way to do it, then I'm sorry, that's some of the special sauce and that's the wrong way to do it. But, we do a really good job of helping out with that process and the recruiting. And last, I would say that get to a place, no matter what the money is, no matter what the fee is, get to a place where your kid is, number one, going to be on a good team that's going to be noticed, and number two, be able to be a player that contributes a lot to that team.
Right.
Like my 2027 team now of all 10th graders, we have 2 players from Durant, 3 players from Steinbrenner, 13 players from Tampa Catholic, and 2 players from Lake Okeechobee. And that makes up my 2027 team. And that team has already won 5 perfect game trophies in 2 years.
Wow.
And that team will be the next big team moving down the pipe.
Now, speaking of perfect game, it's one of those, I guess, they throw many events, okay? However, many events. Now, to start getting looks, is that a company that you have to get in front of, and why?
The reason that I say that you got to get in front of those guys is because now the showcases and stuff are a little elaborate for me. I mean, to go pay $800 to go to a showcase with 3,000 kids, that's a little crazy unless somebody knows you're going, which I have connections with Austin Malone and a lot of those guys there were some of the scouts. I can call them and say, hey, 3 of my guys are coming this weekend. Can you give them a look? Something like that. But the reason that those things are so important is because you're going to get all of the college coaches in one spot.
Okay.
To be able to watch you play. And they could watch you play on field 2 in Fort Myers and then walk across the concession stand and watch a pitcher pitch on game 4 in field 4 in the same location.
Mm-hmm.
I'm losing. You
Back
back?
in? Yep, I'm
You
back.
back?
I see.
Okay, yeah.
Yep.
I don't know if that do not disturb worked, but yeah, you have to. Those tournaments are truly expensive. We spend anywhere between 15 and 20,000 per team to
Yep.
to take the trail for the summers, and
I can believe it.
so it's good to be in front of any of those big groups as long as they can prove to you and in the past show you that they can have college coaches attend those events.
Okay. Now, perfect game, prep report, PBR, prospect wire, prospect select are some of the big names in that industry as far as getting information out, having college coaches available in those windows according to the recruiting calendar. Is there anything else a parent should be looking for to be able to have the best looking opportunity for their child?
I'm going to stick to the fact of get with an organization that gives your child the opportunity to go play in front of people.
Okay.
And I mean, you know, we can't anymore as parents write letters to schools, or you can go online and have the kid write a letter to the coach, but it's just with this transfer portal, it's totally out of control. So
Right.
sure, I mean, you can do those things if it makes you feel better as a parent, so that you can look at yourself and say, I've done everything for Trip and I've done everything for Cole that I can do. But I'm telling you, if you can get to the right organization, and no, I don't care what anybody says. Nobody's going to go watch CBU number 5 team play.
Mm.
Nobody's going to go watch Ostinger or Hit Factory's number 5 team play. They want to go where the players are at.
Right.
Bottom line. And it's the same thing with travel ball. I tell people all the time, your travel ball team is probably going to be better than your high school team,
Yeah, of course.
because the way these guys do it, CBU has a national tryout. I mean, if you have a national tryout and Miguel or Richie or whoever, Carp, or can pick the best 15 players out of 3,000, that's going to beat any high school team that they're on. It doesn't
Yeah,
matter who it
absolutely.
is.
Yeah.
So, I told my brother that I wasn't going to say that high school baseball is irrelevant anymore, because it's irrelevant because you're playing for your school and there's a little bit of pressure that goes to that.
Right.
But can anybody tell me the last time without a political favor that you saw a college coach sitting at a high school game to watch a player play? I was at Jesuit for 17, 18, 19, 5 years. We had one guy come in from Tulane to watch one of our pitchers, and that was because the dad knew the guy from Tulane. And
Wow.
I'm not talking about small, I'm not talking about JUCOs, or like HCC can come to every game. But
Right.
is Vanderbilt going to come to Bartow, Florida to watch Johnny Bastine? Absolutely
Mm.
not.
Mm.
Absolutely not. So, yes, can USF come down the road? Sure. Can Sammy and Joey come down the road from Tampa? Sure. But guys don't need to come to a high school game anymore unless it's for a specific arm
Mm-hmm.
or an opportunity to see a guy play with maybe lesser competition. Just go to the tournaments in the summer, and your summer what makes or breaks you now. Any high school player will tell you that.
And it's funny because when I first started kind of covering baseball, me and Miguel at Jesuit started building our relationship. There were guys on his JV team that had offers.
Of course.
And I was like, yo, Miguel, these cats haven't even played varsity yet. And obviously I'm coming from the football space. And I'm like, yo, they haven't even played varsity yet. How do they have big time collegiate offers? So my question is that to you, like, how does that happen? How do kids who aren't even playing varsity, and I guess that's the answer, how do kids who haven't been throwing a ball, playing an inning of varsity baseball get collegiate offers?
Because they have tremendous summers. Because they have tremendous summers in front of some guy, one person. All I ever tell, my dad used to tell me and Paul all the time, you only need one person to like you. One person to call that name.
Yep.
In the 15th round, the Minnesota Twins select Paul Russo.
Yep.
One person. Having 50 is great because that gives you an option, but all you need is one guy to like you. And I thought somebody told me at the TC Jesuit game that Miggs had 16 Division I commits on his team this year, more than anybody in the country. And some of those guys are playing JV baseball.
That's crazy, bro.
And look, you got a Division I commit and can't play at Jesuit. What does that tell you? What does that tell you?
Oh, boy.
Yeah. What does that tell you?
Okay. Well, this has been, before we get out, tell the people what your organization or what you have coming up, and market your own program, market yourself. What do you have going on here in the near future?
Well, we got, thanks for that opportunity. We have the summer's getting started here about May 15th, our first big tournament. We start the trail Labor Day weekend, or Memorial weekend, sorry. Labor Day's in September. We start Memorial weekend on the big tour, and we still have some spots available for our 26, 27, 28 team. We also have a 16U group and an 18U group. For those seniors that are going to play in college, don't let people tell you that your college coach don't want you to come in and not play ball all summer. You still got time to go out and go to beach week and do all your fun stuff. But your college coach, when you go in July or August, if you're not ready to play baseball, they're probably going to send you home. So we have groups for seniors that are leaving, that if they want to play, come in. Our younger groups are doing phenomenal. Hopefully, we're going to try to start at 9, 10, 10, 11 group in the fall. And our 13s and 14s are banging it right now, and they're killing it. But I think everybody's getting ready for the summer. And we're at Wellswood Park, 4901 North Howard. And you can always look us up on our website. And Coach Paul, Vince, and myself are always available for a conversation. We also allow kids to come to Wellswood Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and we have open workouts for them to get involved in a couple of practices to say how we do it. And I will say one thing that we're different than a lot of other people is that we practice in the summer. A lot of people just show up where they're going and they play based on talent. We have 2 to 3 practices a week to keep honing the skills, and our practices are tremendous. And, you know, that's all that I can say to promote what we do. And I know that we win. So we win, and we give kids the opportunity to play at the next level. And that's all you can ask.
Hey, well, this has been entertaining, enlightening, insightful, as it always should be. I already knew it. The Russo name's on it. It's gonna be all of those things. And I appreciate the time, man, and wanting to come on and being honest and forthright. That was fun. And I'm sure people are gonna love this show.
I hope they are, and maybe we can do it a couple more times.
Oh, absolutely. I
have to get you on the guest list so you can come see Cole play at UT. I know he'd love to see you.
I'll be there.
You got it, brother. Thank you so much, man. I appreciate you.
Yes, sir.